Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Pastor Brady
Yeah.
in the
PB?
house.
Yeah,
PB and J.
back at it.
Yeah, PB and J.
Back at it.
Well, and you're the A.
What?
PB and J.
AJ. P badge. You're the A.
Nice ring to
we have it all right here.
God knew what he was doing.
He did. Yeah.
God ordained
He
this
always
podcast
does. He always does.
long ago.
Yeah, right.
And on the
Speaking of God,
6,700th day, there shall be a
segue, right?
podcast.
yeah.
Or whatever. How old is the world, really?
I don't know.
Speaking of things otherworldly, did you see the Falcon booster
Land and get caught.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Did you see that?
I didn't know. I know.
What?
As someone who loves
What's the Falcon
space-
booster?
Brady,
Catch me up. Catch me up.
it's Elon Musk's new rocket that
Oh,
can
okay.
launch heavy equipment into space, and he got it to go up into space and then come back and land and get caught by the launch pad, so that it's reusable. So now we have reusable rockets.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool. But as somebody who loves space, I totally missed that there was that big meteor the other night, and I saw a bunch of people take a picture of
Oh,
it.
yeah.
That was pretty cool.
That and the Northern Lights.
Yeah.
We had Northern Lights.
Yeah, I didn't. I just saw pictures
Yeah.
afterwards.
Well,
how
it's
do,
a
how
funny-
do people find out about
No,
this
the
stuff?
well,
You just gotta
if
be,
you follow stuff, on Twitter,
okay.
X.
That's my problem.
I still call it Twitter,
Yeah, I know.
but
I was logging into Meta the other day to post about the meal that I was about. You would call it Facebook.
yeah. Well, I actually call it the Facebook. No, but those pictures were deceiving of the Northern Lights. The camera captures the colors a lot better than
Okay.
what you see.
That's exact. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
No, it
Like when you
yeah.
go outside, you're like, I kind of see it.
Oh.
And then you put your phone does the AI thing, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
And then you post it to
Right,
Meta.
You post it to the Facebook,
To the Facebook.
and then it looks a lot better. Yeah, but yeah, the meteor the other night, I totally missed that. I would have hopped up to see that, but
But would it have looked? Would it have looked the same
I don't know.
to the naked eye?
I don't know that I've ever seen like a big meteor like that. Like
Really?
It's like a shooting star.
Ooh,
Or
a
it's
shooting
moving,
star.
No, it's moving slower.
I don't know. But people had pictures. It was like a white ball with like a white trail behind it going across the sky.
Yeah.
Is that
And
a
I don't think it
com-
was
is that a
moving
comet?
that fast.
What's the difference between a comet and a meteor?
I think isn't meteors ones that come through our atmosphere and come to Earth? And
maybe.
comets are like moving past
They
us.
stay out there.
I don't
Oh
know.
boy.
That's a good question. Somebody in one of our buzzies will
Chime in.
chime in and answer that for us.
They'll be like, actually,
Right. Should
it's
have
the
it.
density
Yeah.
and the velocity,
It's the molecule makeup.
the molecule makeup.
If it's a hydrogen based,
We sound so dumb when we talk about things.
no, we should stop.
You know who knows?
Who?
The biggest nerd we all know. Nate.
Oh, yeah. Nate probably.
He
does
won her.
that.
Actually, you know who would know is his wife Catherine, because she is a geologist by trade.
Oh,
Oh, she works in IT.
No, she doesn't work in IT either. No,
Oh,
no,
well, shows what I know.
billing or something.
Geology? Wow.
She was a geologist. I don't know that you ever. It's kind of like that Navy SEAL conversation. Are you ever not a Navy SEAL once you're a Navy SEAL?
I mean, yeah. Once you walk around with that geology degree,
Right.
all of the world is your oyster.
All the world is your rock.
Yeah,
All the world is your comet and or meteor.
you can't turn it off. You're just like, look at that sediment over there.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
brown. But over there, it's red.
Really brown.
Yeah.
It's browner. Yeah. I can't even tell the colors of that on account of my disability.
Hey, Brady. It's been a little while since you've been on. How's life? Catch people up.
Yeah. Life's good. Family's doing well. We're kind of in the midst of volleyball for our oldest daughter, third grader. She plays volleyball, which has been fun to watch her kind of learn. It's been fun and frustrating at times, but mostly fun.
I was going to say, it's not always fun to watch.
Yeah. It's the most recent game, though they've improved so much from game one to the last game. So the most recent one was really exciting to see them kind of put their skills to work. But yeah, they're doing well. The girls are having fun with school. Allison's doing well. Work's going well for her. And yeah, we took a little trip to Nebraska City a few weeks back. That was fun to get away and enjoy the fall colors and the apple orchard stuff. And
You picked apples.
we did not actually go into the orchard to pick apples, but we did buy some apples. And our youngest Josie, she has been like all about. She's wanted a caramel apple for a long time because she sees them like at Cold Stone. They have them sitting there, and there's other places, and we've just been holding her off. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm against caramel apples for some reason. But we finally let her get a caramel apple.
Brady, why are you against caramel apples?
I don't know. I guess growing up I thought they were gross, but turns out they're actually really good. So, yeah. So that was fun, and yeah, things are going good. Good to be back on.
Mm-hmm.
But
Aaron, what's happening?
What is
Everybody
happening?
always enjoys the sagas of the Aaron Bressman life.
Everybody enjoys the sagas.
Yes.
How do you define a saga?
Whatever it is your life is.
Yeah. Nothing to report really. My wife is traveling, and I took it upon myself to call her yesterday morning in the midst of her travels to complain about two of her children. Yeah. I thought that was time well spent. I'm like, you know what? She's traveling. She's on a plane. She's doing all that's super fun, you know. Let me just call her and say, do you know what your children did? You know what they said? You know how they behaved? Yeah. Probably wasn't the right call to make. But
You're just supposed to call and say everything's okay.
not even call. She's busy.
preferably just no color.
Yeah. How about just not call? How about I'll see you when I get back? Yeah. Yesterday morning was a good example of, oh gosh, it was perfect. I dropped Kayla off first because she had to be at school early, and then I had the other two, and I had the audacity to take them to Starbucks instead of just leaving them at school at 7:15. And so took them back, dropped them off, and as I was driving away, I was having that conversation that I've had before, which is they're so ungrateful, they're so disrespectful. I give and I give and I give, and they just take, and there's no appreciation, and they don't deserve all of the good that I do for them, and I don't deserve the disrespect. Like I'm driving. Maybe if you guys saw me driving away, you would have seen this
He's
by myself.
mouthing.
Yes.
For those of you that are listening.
And sure enough, I have like this moment where I'm like, wait, that's me.
Oh,
That's
sure.
me.
He's pointing up for those that can't see.
Pointing upwards, folks.
Implying the relationship between him and God.
That's right.
Thanks for the narration.
Well,
I know.
he has all kinds of hands, gestures. Nobody sees these things.
Next, I'll be communicating in sign language. Yeah, it is just on the nose, disrespectful, disregard, lack of appreciation, lack of acknowledgement, lack of awareness, and it's me to my God, straight up. Then I take a deep breath. I'm like, all right. So then I spend some time in prayer, do some reconciliation. And then I stare at my phone and I wait. And I wait. And I'm waiting for it to come to me now. See, I still haven't learned my lesson. I'm waiting now for my kids to be like, you know what, Dad, we're sorry. You're right. We are disrespectful. We do not show gratitude. We apologize. Will you forgive us? Never.
But
came.
instead, you called your wife and complained.
I did. I called her. I can't remember in what order that took place, actually, chronologically speaking. Then I dropped them off lunch, because that's probably the reason that we're in the situation that we're in. I took them Chipotle and dropped it off for lunch. And then I'm like, well, did you guys ever get the lunch? And Cameron's response was, yeah, for some reason it had tomatoes all over it.
Oh,
my response was, you're welcome.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, for some reason it had tomatoes all over it.
I wonder how this got there.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it all right.
yeah. And it sucked. You blew it, you idiot.
So Aaron, life is good?
Life's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was really hoping there was going to be a happy ending at the end
That
of
is
that
the
story.
happy ending. They all made it. They all survived another day and night.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to my wife this morning. She said, better day? Better morning? Like, that's what she's concerned about? Whether or not the kids are driving me up the wall? That's a pretty good woman. She is.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's all right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well,
What about you?
Brady. I don't know if we got too much going on. Just kind of the usual stuff. Gosh, yeah, I can't think of anything. Volleyball for Peyton, which is awesome. She's captain and setter, and that's going good. Beckett is his usual one-liners.
Football's done.
Football is done. Flag football's done. I'll never coach first grade flag football again.
Never say never.
Well, I won't have a first grader ever again. So
Never say never.
yeah. I will. I know. I tease you about that all the time. I've gotten a little baby fever lately.
Have you really?
Couple
Have
of
you
these-
really?
A couple of these new babies at church and stuff, and I'm like,
I know.
I'd kind of like to have one more.
Yeah.
But it's one of those. I think I'm more in the grandparent mode of like, oh,
Really?
I kind of like to just hold it for a little while, but then give it back. You know,
I know.
like
Right.
Not me.
there's something cute about the.
I want the whole
Those little-
experience.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do is, like one of those, when they have a new iPhone that comes out, and you can trade in the iPhone that you have, even if it has cracks and damage. You can trade it in and get some credit for the new one. That's what I kind of like to do. Trade in one of these damaged kids and get a fresh new one. New baby.
Oh, I hope your kids never listen to the podcast.
Why would they? They're like, wait, who hosts it? You? Nah, I'm out.
So yeah, I think we're good. Yeah. But Brady and I get to head out to the
Make like a baby and head out.
metropolis of Kearney, Nebraska, this week
Yeah.
for the pastors.
The Arch.
Yeah,
That's right.
I still haven't gone in it yet.
Why?
To watch all the cars
Hey,
go underneath
here's your
it.
chance.
I know. It's yeah.
Let's do it.
We only go 2 or 3 times a year for all our conferences. So
Yeah. They've
Yeah.
been a lot out in Kearney lately.
well, now they got that whole like metropolis of hotels there.
Yeah. It is nice.
Which that Crown Plaza with that water park and everything, yeah, it's nice.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. You guys have.
It is a
You've
nice
done it
place.
before as a family, haven't you?
No, they're coming out for this.
Oh, they are.
Yeah,
Oh, sweet.
yeah, because it's the pastors and teachers and DCE's conference. It's like all church workers.
Not honorary pastors, right?
No honorary pastors. No.
Well, people who have a job that everybody thinks is a volunteer job,
Yeah.
can they go?
Not musicians. Like,
I had a meeting this
who
morning.
can't play music?
Dude, I had a meeting this morning. The guy goes, he goes, I like your title. I go, oh, yeah, what is it again? You know what he told me? He goes, it's like they just tagged that outreach on the end. Like, and outreach. As if it's like a little responsibility. And I go, well, that's a whole other story altogether. But so no, I can't go. Was that the
No.
I love water parks.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can go. Kearney, Nebraska.
Cannonball.
Which, man, we get that huge one in Papillion, what, next year, is it? You've heard about that
Water
that
park?
giant indoor
Gretna,
one?
I thought.
No,
Part of the
it's
the
over in
YMCA,
Bellevue or
yeah.
something.
Wait,
Was that
Bellevue
another
Pavilion,
one?
Gretna?
What? There's like a giant one coming,
It's
right?
different.
I thought
than the
I thought they were
YMCA.
doing like a whole outdoor,
Yeah, not the
Gretna.
YMCA.
So it's separate.
a whole
from that.
outdoor deal. Is this something
Yeah,
different?
you're talking about the YMCA in Gretna.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, they're building a giant, like, I forget what it is, 1,200 or 120,000 square foot.
1,200 square foot would not be that big.
No,
sound right.
120,000 square foot indoor water park.
Wow.
And it's going in like Papillion, Bellevue area or something like that.
Fun.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
What's going in Gretna?
The pool's already there, that big YMCA pool.
But aren't they doing something more than that?
Well, they're doing, yeah,
Out
they're,
at the crossing.
they're talking about a Great Wolf Lodge and an IKEA and a arena to try and get a hockey team. And
All the crap that bigger cities have.
yeah. Well, I wouldn't, yeah.
You like IKEA? Do you?
I've only been once.
Do you like the IKEA?
I've never been to an IKEA actually.
Have you ever purchased anything from IKEA?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so.
They have like pretty cool, cool furniture. But then
You have to build it.
you open the box and it has 128 million pieces to assemble.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 days into it, you're like, you know what? I should have paid more. Because had somebody put this thing together for
But they
me.
have meatballs that they had to stop serving horse.
What? Hold on. What?
They sell meatballs at IKEA.
Swedish, because it's Swedish company.
Right.
Okay, but what did you say
And-
about horse?
They were serving horse.
Horse meat?
Yes, for the meatballs.
Horse meatballs.
And they stopped doing that.
Are you making?
No.
Is that true?
I don't know.
Horse
true.
meatballs.
Yes.
Why did they have to stop?
Because people in the United States found out it was horse and wouldn't eat them.
Well, it wasn't like a horse in the prime of its life.
Which is interesting. They're like, oh, no. Kill that cow. Kill that pig. Don't kill a horse.
Not the horse.
I don't want to eat
It's
a
a
horse.
magnificent animal. You don't eat them.
Horses are magnificent.
Yeah,
I do.
and delicious, as it turns out.
Maybe you've had a...
When done in Swedish. Well, my people. Well, forget it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
We won't go there.
I don't know if you're enough Chinese to make that joke.
Really?
Yeah.
How much do you have to be?
I don't know, but more than
More
you.
than
I don't think the 1/8ers get to make those jokes. What are you?
Yeah, I'm an eighth. That's
yeah,
right.
1/8. Yeah.
yeah.
Legit 1/8.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think you have to be at least a halfer. Yeah. So, yeah, Brady and I get to go to a conference this weekend. That'll be fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is your family going?
They're not.
Yeah, because our kids are out of school, aren't they?
Yep. Yeah, you get the kids home for the next 2 days. Spend all that time with them.
Goose frappa.
Soak it up. Hey, you have time
Serenity
to
now.
watch Inside Out too. I've had a dozen people come up to me and say, "You're 100% right. Inside Out 2 is great."
Really?
Yes, from the
It's a
podcast.
bold statement.
I don't know if we've seen
It
that one
really
yet.
is good. Every parent of girls should watch that movie
Have you seen
with
it,
their
Brady?
girls.
I don't think so. I'm trying to remember. If
It talks
the
about
girls have
puberty
gone
a
to
little
it.
bit, so prepare yourself if you watch it with the girls. But
Yeah.
maybe that's a good
Well,
way.
you need to start
segue for
prepping
you,
now.
Brady.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Probably.
Okay, Inside Out 2.
yeah,
So I can do that.
yeah.
As if they're going to want to spend any time with me.
It's a 2-hour movie at most. Sit them on the couch, make them watch a movie with you, cuddle with them, spend some time with them.
Have you met them?
Yes, they're delightful. Leah's like my favorite kid in middle school.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the sermon.
Back to Sunday.
Who is God?
Who is God? Brady?
Yeah, this is.
You know what's funny? Is I did not realize until Sunday morning that I made 7 weeks. Because I was like, I should say how many weeks the series is. And that was complete happenstance.
Yeah.
Obviously not. But, 7, a holy number, as we talk about a holy God. And I picked 7 attributes to kind of pick out. But that was neat to... I was like, how many weeks? What is it? 7. Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't look at that either. That's cool.
The
Yeah.
Holy Spirit strikes again.
Yeah.
Holy Spirit, activate. Activate.
Oh, man.
So week 1.
It's a big topic, though. Like I said to Brady yesterday that, not only was it the first of a new series, but okay, you're going to preach. You're going to preach on the holiness of God. Ready? You got 20 minutes. Go.
Yeah. Well, and I think appropriate place to start probably too is a few and I think I said it in the sermon too. Something I had read that holiness really kind of encompasses all of God's attributes. So I mean, His love is holy, His mercy is holy, His justice is holy. I can't remember all the ones that we're going through, but just holiness seems to be like this kind of characteristic that, and we talked about it, just speaks to Him being just so far above and beyond, so unique, and that really applies to all of His attributes. So it seemed like a good place to start. But I think going into it, just the hope, and we even prayed this ahead of time when we met with the elders, was like, God, just let us just kind of scratch the surface of your holiness. I just like let people walk away, because I mean, it's so easy, I think, in our day in, day out, to just kind of lose sight of what that really means. Man, there's just so many distractions, so many things that cause us to just lose sight of that. So the hope was, I think, just to have people leave and being able to meditate on, like, wow, God really is that big, or He really is that great, or He really is, He's holy. And so I think just that opportunity just to draw people back to just, letting that soak in, letting that sink in a little bit, and hopefully we were able to, again, at least just scratch the surface of what that means and what that really means for us as we go about our days. So, yeah.
And you described holiness as a uniqueness, right? Like a kind of a set apart uniqueness. And I think that's interesting because, when you try and define holy, I do think a lot of people consider it, kind of like purity of goodness, like kind of perfectionism.
Yeah.
Like when they think of holy is like perfect, like in goodness, and yet, the Hebrew defines it that way as well, but also like kind of this set apartness, just like completely other in a way that we can't even grasp almost. And I loved your analogy of like the ocean. I think of something as great as the Pacific Ocean. I remember my first time getting to see it and like put my feet in it, and just as far as the eye can see, just ocean, and know that like, 12 time zones later, it's still there, like
Right,
that.
Yeah.
And just to think that like one little speck of something,
Yeah. Right.
and it's not pure anymore. Like just that idea of purity, like that completeness of purity, that even something that grand, to have one speck of something all of a sudden becomes 0.00 or whatever impure. And like God is pure.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
No
just
speck,
that,
yeah.
like just not one blemish, not one incompleteness, not one failure. Like that's just so incredible to think about. And I took notes on your sermon to talk about, to go further, because I thought there was as you got towards the end, you had like kind of these moments for us to kind of try and comprehend and break down like God's examples of his holiness. And he talked about Moses' face shining, which just that's a story that one of those that we hear, and I think so much it sounds just like a story, like almost fictitious.
Yeah.
Right,
It was just a sunburn.
Well,
Yeah.
just like his face was shining, like, but like you point out, like they like were like, Moses, put something over your face, man. You're freaking us out. Like, and he would walk around with a veil. Like how weird that is. That like, because I'm sure the light still shined, out of the veil. Like you're like, I could tell you're still shining
Still
in there. Like it's shining out. Like
Still see it. Still shine.
But like how crazy that is, that his holiness when it meets, and I forget exactly how you worded it, but there was a line in it where you said like when we just come face to, or when we interact with God's holiness, like it's impossible not to be changed. It's impossible for not to impact us. Forget exactly how you worded that, but that line was so good of just it's in. I always look at it in light and darkness, and I think I talked about this the other day. That like I love those pictures of like from space where you see like the light of the sun come across the face of the earth, and you just see that like darkness stands no chance. Just like light just drives out all darkness. And in the same way, like that's God's holiness in our lives. Is just when he ushers in his holiness, there's nothing that can stand against. It's like a person standing on the beach when a tsunami's coming. Like there's nothing. You're not like digging your feet as much as you want and try and like muscle up. You just don't stand a chance. You're just gonna get blown away. Like almost like you see those videos of the atomic bomb. Like testing back in the day, and like they show you some little shack. Have you seen these? And it's just like, boom, and it's just gone. It just blows it to smithereens. Like I think of that, like God's holiness, like that like, there will be a day when I stand before the Lord, and I will be like that little shack. And every imperfection, every impure, like I think of God's ocean, with no speck in it. I think of my ocean, and it's got like the pollution of the world, like being dumped in it. And just like there I am, this rickety shack. And just like as God hits with his holiness, just blast me, that all that's left is pure. Like, and there's just this little frame of me that's left. And like, what is my life going to be like one day as I stand before the Lord with zero imperfections, zero impact of age or decay or pain or hurt on my body, zero, like I try not to look into some things too much because it bothers me, but like, RFK did some speech a couple months ago where he was talking about like food, and all the stuff they put in our food and all that. And I got down a rabbit hole. I did. I looked, and just like all the junk, like chemicals and just unbelievably unhealthy things that are in our bodies and in our water and in our,
in our Chick-fil-A. I mean, you see all the chemicals that they put in those chicken sandwiches.
That's God's.
Yeah. You want to go down a rabbit hole, Mr. Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A?
The Lord's
That's a different place.
Where are you going? Chick-fil-A. So that's pure. That's God's chicken. But, I just think of all the toxins that take place in our body, all the, all the cancerous things that happen to our body, all the sunspots that happen to our body, just physically, no imperfections. I think of all the emotional things, like all the baggage that we carry, all the wounds that we,
it's incalculable. You can't even. There's just no way to comprehend it.
Like what I'm going to be like one day with zero imperfection, where all my motives are pure, where I put the best construction on everything, where no insecurities.
Yeah.
Like, what is that going to be like? Because, I got into that conversation on the podcast when we talked about heaven, that I didn't bring it up in the sermon, that, that the Bible does in a couple places talk about levels of heaven. And somebody questioned me about that, and they were like, what does that even mean? Like, how can we have different levels of heaven? Like, some people get a greater. I was like, but how crazy is it going to be that you won't care because there will be zero jealousy inside of your heart?
Yeah.
That you will be like, you get that and I
Right.
get this? Yes!
Right,
Like, I'm
yeah.
content and I'm happy and I'm good. Like, I just can't imagine what it will be like a day with zero imperfection, with all goodness and blessing. And that God can take a sinful, broken, because that's kind of how you wrapped it up, was that God is going to one day make us holy. Because nothing can be in his presence that isn't. And so, like, as we step into that presence and we get blasted by his holiness, like, that uniqueness and that we get to share in that because of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you kind of wrapped it up, was like that happens for every one of us. And that's just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. That it doesn't destroy us, but that it just like is just pouring life into us. I don't know, just feels warm thinking about it. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it, but just
I think sunlight, yeah.
he's just like shining on us, and it's just like, it's not destroying us, because he's made us in a way that we can now not only withstand it, but like absorb and like enjoy it and experience it and just feel that life. Like there's no sun in heaven, right? Because he's the light. Like,
Right.
It's just
And we're going to radiate
emanating
that light.
from
Yeah.
him, and
That's
it's
what I like,
incredible.
that specific example, that the darkness cannot hide from the light, and then even just the speck of light can be seen in the darkness, and light overcomes the darkness.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Darkness never overcomes light.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I know, and that's how I feel too. In that any of my impurities or my sin, my
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
my
Brokenness.
failures
Yeah.
are completely transformed into purity, just like darkness is transformed
Yeah.
into light.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that fits with like sin. Like darkness is an absence of light. It's not a thing in and of itself. Like saying like sin isn't a thing in and of itself. It's just the absence of good. Like it's the same kind of thing. Like it isn't really a thing. It's just it's less than, not like its own entity or whatever. Yeah, just an interesting way to think of it. But
Whenever I think of that, I think of my dog. Like on days like today where it's like cold, I'll let her in the backyard and she'll find like where the sunlight is hitting the backyard, and she just sits on all fours, or like kind of lays, but her head is up and just faces the sun with her eyes closed. And she just sits there like kind of basking in the sun, like, and she comes in and she's like all warm, like, and
Oh, yeah.
because she just like, even though it's chilly out, and she's just sitting in the sun, like just basking in it. And I just think like that'll be us one day, just like sitting in God's light, just soaking it up.
That's
and
interesting.
just-
Even
There's
after
life in it,
she's
yeah.
after she's inside and outside she's inside and no longer in the sun. She still has that warmth.
Right.
That's kind of cool.
And I thought like towards the end, once again, you had like 4 kind of things that you picked out of the scriptures of kind of examples of God's holiness that I wanted to talk about. The first one you talked about was a sign of God's holiness was casting out demons. And as we talk about dark and light, I want to talk about that a little more, of just like Jesus's power, because you talked about like when he would come in the interact with the demons, they would call him, "You are the Holy One of God."
Yeah.
Like, I know who you are. Like, and they flee. They begged for mercy from him.
Right.
Like, we think of demons as the most awful evil. They make the movies about them and all this kind of stuff, and yet they begged Jesus for mercy. That's how terrified they were of his holiness, his unique. They knew who he was. Just that ability of just eradicating all evil, of casting out those demons. And when we look at our world today and the evil that we see today, to just think that God's holiness, that kind of like you talked about light and darkness, that the darkness stands no chance. The darkness stands no chance. Like God's light, God's truth, God's holiness is just it just overpowers. And I think that's important for us today. When you talk about that for each person, I think we look at the evil that we see. I think we see the sin in our own lives. And a lot of times I think people can get underwater there and feel overwhelmed and feel like, too far gone. This is who I am. This is nothing can cleanse this. And I talked about this with the youth this week because we talked about evil in youth group. And I talked about, I used to do this ministry down in Knoxville, down on the street, and I'd get these chances to talk with people one-on-one. And because there was this church called Carm, and I was just trying to invite them to this church because it was a church with a lot of homeless people, and so it was a good safe place for them to start, and so many of them, their one reason why they would never go to church was God could never forgive what I did. God could you don't know how bad it is. You don't know what I've done. You don't know how dark my darkness is, and just that idea that you put out there, like one side of God's holiness is like, no. Evil is terrified of Jesus. Demons flee from Jesus, beg for mercy from Jesus. Like his holiness is that powerful, and that there's nothing inside of you that cannot be.
Right.
There's nothing that evil has a hold of you, that victory cannot be won, that God's holiness cannot have power inside of you. I think that's a huge point.
Yeah. And I think when you look at Jesus too, like this was the holiness that he possessed. Like, and he masks it. Like, wouldn't you, like, as people are like calling him names and like accusing him of all these things, wouldn't you want to just like show a little glimpse of that? Like, you want to call me, like, check this out. Yeah. Like, I mean, just
turn the light bulb on inside of you.
Right. Like, yeah, you want to say that, like, well, check this out. And I feel it just his humility, like that God in his holiness would actually come down to be amongst his people, that he would cover, that he would mask his glory in a way so that it wouldn't destroy us, so that he could be close to us. Like, he put everything aside so that he could be near to us.
And I mean, like, such a cool try and dig into that more. Think about how crazy that is. That if he had been seen in his pure holiness, it would have destroyed people. It would have. I mean, like, it couldn't. And yet he covered it all in flesh. He masked it. He I don't know the right words even there. That's what incarnation is God's holiness coming down and being flesh. Yeah. And he walked among us, and yet inside of him was this, like, I almost think of like kind of pulsating power, like, that at any moment could have just expelled all. Oh yeah. I mean, like, if he had just let it loose, it would have been like, like when you see like a picture of like an EMF, or what are those things? The electromagnetic. Pulse or whatever, like EMP, like just like boom, like if he would have just let it loose once, Well,
yeah, people would touch his garment and they'd be healed.
Yes.
And he'd be like, whoa, we're, power left me.
And my power left me. Yes.
Yeah.
That like, and you brought up, and I loved the other two points you made there. The calming of the storm is another moment where I think that's one of those, like, I can't even think we can fathom what it would be like to be in one of those boats. We're talking about a rowboat, a small, paddle. They're not rowboats. They're a little bit bigger. They have a small sail. Just a small little sail. The size of a sheet maybe, and but they had probably 6 or 8 oars on each side. That's all the bigger the boat was. It's being capsized almost by the storm, and for Jesus to just say stop. And just like, once again, like, just imagine like every cloud, everything just like to where it's just daylight, like in a completely calm storm. And I mean, the people are what?
Yeah, they're terrified. Like, who is this guy?
and I think that's a part of God's holiness that I think sometimes miss when you talk about, it's not just perfection. It's not just like goodness, that it's this kind of otherworldliness, this other, like that when people saw glimpses of God's holiness, they didn't go, wow, you're so perfect. They were terrified when they saw his holiness.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. And I think it has to be that way. Like if God is God and he's that great, like it has to be that way.
yeah.
Like we want a God that unsettles us. Like if it's just
Yeah.
easy, like, oh yeah, he shines pretty bright.
Yeah.
Like I put on some sunglasses or
Who
something. Like,
did you say it was the Isaiah piece where it literally meant like you're unraveling me or
yeah. When Isaiah says, "Woe is me, I'm lost," like other translations will say, "I'm undone," or like I'm coming unraveled. Like
yes,
like I'm being destroyed. Like kill me now. Like,
right.
Like just kill me now.
That unraveling
Yeah,
is such a cool word
It's
there.
like coming apart. Yeah.
Right. Like
Yeah.
that, just like, God, you're too much. Like I'm,
Yeah.
and yeah, when God showed examples of his holiness, I think of that one. I think of, the transfiguration, you brought that one up where, like God is seen and it says that the three disciples fall face down and they are terrified.
Right. Yeah.
Like not like, wow, like they're terrified, and then the last one, and I thought this was unique, coming from your medical perspective, but like the healings. The healings is another example of his holiness, of just, just trying to take like almost like an X-ray view of your body, like whatever deformity, whatever disease it is, whatever, like, and Jesus's holiness just coming in and somehow eradicating that, just disappearing that, just like I don't know, but like give some more thought of that, like just how that even
and I think that, like from like an eye perspective, like this like someone has glaucoma, for instance, like this is a disease where your optic nerve dies over time, and like just him, when he heals blind people. Like, so I'm thinking, like, so how does he heal that optic nerve? Like, does he give them a new one? Does he restore the parts that had died before? But somehow his holiness just overwhelms. And I think, too, in that culture, like, someone that, he raises dead people, too. Death is unclean, like, disease is unclean. And it's not that he's so holy that typically if you touched a dead person, now you were unclean. Like, you were unholy. You had to be purified. But his holiness is such that he just dives right in there and he touches the lepers. He touches a dead body and picks them up and they're alive again. And
his holiness,
yeah,
overwhelms their unholiness.
It doesn't transfer to him.
Right.
He just overwhelms.
He's light, it's darkness.
What's there? Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's like what's the what would be the medical equivalent of a cell? Like a whoops. When you're I can't remember which cells are the good cells. Like you want to boost.
When the mitochondria comes into the nucleus.
Sounds so stupid. Thankfully, we got the doctor here.
Mitochondria is a
When a
part of
white
the cell.
Mitochondria is
Over-
Yes!
It's the powerhouse.
The power. I got the power. Oh my gosh. So I was playing jock jams on the way to volleyball. You remember jock jams?
Do I remember
to get the
jock
kids
jams?
pumped up,
Yeah,
ready
with
for
our
Peyton
first sermon
kids.
series, remember?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's right.
So I was doing jock jams in the car to get Peyton pumped up, and it was that song, "I Got the Power." We're like 5 minutes into that song, and Beckett goes, "Why is he saying that?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I'm not a grandma." And I was like, that's not what he's saying, but that was like what Beckett heard. And then like I could not stop laughing the rest of the afternoon thinking, what
else is he?
what else has he got? I didn't even think of that.
Wrong.
But just like how weird that must have been for him for like 2 minutes of thinking, why is this song saying, I'm not a grandma? I'm like,
Grief.
and then I'm thinking,
man.
now I'm thinking, yeah, maybe he needs ear tubes or something.
Every time you hear that.
Yeah.
The medical terminology
Mitochondria.
for a cell that like a good cell that's overtaking like a bad cell.
Like an immune system cell that like is getting the bad ones,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
like a
It's
I don't know, T cells or natural killer cells or
Yeah.
like immune cells that will go in and engulf or eat up like bacteria.
There we go.
White
like
blood
Yes.
cells.
white blood cells. Yeah.
wow.
There you
Yeah.
go.
You.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
My
he
wife
actually
has
does that.
cancer.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah,
one of the-
but that's it.
One of the
Like,
cool
it's-
things they're doing
it
right
doesn't-
now is they are taking people's individuals' cells out of their body and they do something to them. I don't know all the technical, but then one of the cancer treatments that so you don't have to go through chemo and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think it's with only certain types of cancers, but they take your own cells, do something to them, put them back into you, and they fight the cancer and rid your body of cancer.
They supercharge them somehow.
So I don't know all that. Joe could
Yeah.
probably explain it way better, but it's incredible what they can do now. Yeah, with cells.
But that's the battle, isn't it? Like a good cell overtaking a bad cell.
Yeah.
And the idea is that the good cell doesn't become bad from the bad cell, but it absorbs the bad cell, and then the bad cell's gone.
But I think
right.
of stories.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, and it's just gets rid of it and chews it all up and like
Yeah.
it doesn't exist.
But
Yeah.
you take something like the guy with the withered hand, that Jesus goes, stretch out your hand. Like, how crazy is that?
It's
And
just
that guy
cool.
going,
Yeah.
well, you don't think I've tried that before? You know, like, but just like,
Yeah.
whoop, and it's there. You know, or you know the lame or the dead. You know, like, you know, when someone's dead 4 days, like Lazarus, like there's a lot that's already done. You know, and Jesus with just a word, boom, heart's pumping, blood's pumping, restorative life. You know, breath, and you know, it's just crazy that. And you brought that up of just like here's examples of God's holiness and like just it's not just like his perfection, it's just his otherworldliness, his power.
Otherworldliness is a great way to do it.
you know, like just
Yeah.
his supernatural, you know,
Yeah. All of it.
you know, it's crazy, but it is also his perfection.
Yeah.
You know, like
It's
it's
all
kind
of
of
it, yeah.
all of that
And purity.
and purity
yeah.
and
There are times that I've shared this with you before that, you know, I'll kick off a prayer sometimes in exasperation, like maybe yesterday. And I'll just start like this sort of casual conversation with God and then be like, whoa, gotta take a second here, step back and remember who it is that I'm allowed to have this conversation with. And not that we can comprehend it, but at least have some reverence
yeah.
to be like in awe of his holiness and take a step,
Well-
take a second, take a breath and just sit on that before I launch into any kind of even gratitude before
Right.
before I go through my daily gratitude with him, just to be like, okay, hang on. Okay, now, thank you.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up because really this sermon series is based off of two books that we have. It's Packer's Knowing God and Tolzer's Attributes of God. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. I think
Part
Yes.
one and part
Yeah.
two.
Tozer and Packer.
And it's in Tozer, whatever it is.
Tozier.
Yeah. Or
Tozier.
Jets.
I think it's in. I think it's in volume 2, like in the intro. He says something to the effect of, and this is where like I really wanted to do this 7-part series, is he says, too often in the evangelical church, they have so lowered the view of God that God is your friend. God is your. And he talks about walking into a church on a college campus, and it was like God is your quarterback, you know, and he always calls the right play, and you know God is your friend or the man upstairs, and he just said we have so lowered in the evangelical church the idea of God, and he goes no Muslim would ever stoop to saying of Allah, you know, he is my partner. He is my man upstairs. He like he said, Christianity has just truly lost its reverence of God, and its awe of God, and its fear of God, like a healthy fear of God.
Well,
and that's why I wanted to do this series, is to put some people back in awe of God, that He is, like you said, otherworldly. He is far like like the Old Testament church, the way they feared his reverence and his power, and and the New Testament church, as well. Like I do think we're guilty of that.
Mm-hmm.
I do think we've made God too casual.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, part of that I think has something to do with our little tiny human brains can't quite comprehend all of it. But also there's a lot of church, a lot of call them newer, new age types of churches focus solely on the New Testament.
Yep.
And like we're going through Isaiah right now as a staff, and
some of us are already in Jeremiah.
I mean,
so
So we're working ahead a little bit.
because we don't know how to read.
Teacher's pet.
I
But
was
there's
like,
man,
looking
I am
in so far behind.
It's a lot
I'm
of
reading like
chapters, yeah.
crazy to catch up. And then I read a whole week ahead.
Yeah.
good for you.
No,
But here's judgment against the nations. This is Isaiah 34. The Lord is angry with all nations. His wrath is on all their armies. He will totally destroy them. He will give them over to slaughter. Their slain will be thrown out. Their dead bodies will stink. The mountains will be soaked with their blood. I mean, this is the Old Testament.
A little different
God
than
loves
God's your
you.
quarterback.
Yeah, he's your quarterback, and also
yeah.
you stink because you're dead and your blood's all over the mountains.
Right. Yeah. No, people have
Right.
totally lost their
Right.
fear of God. And lost their reverence of God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to try and give that back. Like the week on justice, I think that's like the 5th week on God's justice and wrath. That this is your God.
Yeah.
Like he is to be feared.
Yeah.
Like he's the God that says stuff like that.
Right.
Like that, I want to make sure that we talk about all the attributes of God. Is God love? Yes.
Yeah.
But that's one attribute.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people, I think, don't know how to handle. I'm getting into my sermon already, but people don't know how to handle like the attribute of wrath and see that juxtaposed against love, and they just go, "Well, I'll just pick love. Like he's just love." Yeah. Well, no, God's wrath is love. God's wrath is holy. God's wrath is grace. God's wrath is it all works together. Not one is above any other.
Yeah.
They all work in unison together, and they're all of it.
Right.
And it's all the truth of who your God is.
Yeah.
And that's why he's worthy to be praised and feared.
Yeah.
I mean, Martin Luther, as he wrote the Catechism, every single thing he wrote was you should love and fear
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
You like
God, yeah.
both, Yeah. And so I'm excited for the rest of the series. But yeah, what are you looking up, Aaron?
Well, I was. No, it's okay. Sorry.
No, you're flipping through your Bible. What do you want to share?
I was just thinking about how we need some, we need some more focus on the Old Testament in my house.
Get back to
You
healthy
should
fear.
go to Elijah and the she-bears, where they're calling him bald head, and he prays for the she-bears to come down and maul the 40 kids. Don't make fun of your dad's hair, or I'll pray for these dogs to maul you in
It's
your
not the
sleep.
hair; it's the forehead that they always get after that.
It should be the hair.
What were you saying about turning around on the platform? And then catching a view of your head in the side monitors.
Oh, I have a bald spot. I do. It's bad. It is thin. It is very thin. I am starting to get sunburned on it. That's how I know it's thin. Is I'll be like, "Ooh, the top of my head hurts." Oh, and Joe's like, "Yeah, it's sunburned."
Smoking.
Yeah. There's not a thick forest protecting it anymore. So
Well, great job.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's a big one. That was a big.
There's one last thing that we didn't really get a touch on it in the sermon as much, but I think this definition of holy as being set apart is kind of important as it applies to even us, because there's places in Scripture where God says, "Be holy because I am holy," and I think it's easy to take that and be like, I can't be perfect like God. Like He's telling me I got to be perfect like Him. But some of the stuff I was reading was just pointing out, like, God's calling us to be set apart, to be different than the rest of the world. Yep. He is set apart. He is above and beyond. And so He's not calling us like you have to be perfect just like me or you're out of luck. It's be different than the world. Seek me out. I know you're not going to be perfect, but just be set apart, be different than the world, and demonstrate. One day we will be holy like him. There's the passage from 1 John. I don't remember if we actually shared it or not, but it says one day we will be like him and we will see him as he is. And so I think one day we will be perfect and pure and holy just like him. But for now, let's be set apart and different from, the world around us in a way that he calls us to be. So
That's a great way to end it.
yeah.
Amen. Have a great week.
Yeah.
God bless. Thanks, guys.